Hello, lovely people. I'm Sinead, and welcome. Last week on Wednesday, we worked on remaking a skirt that didn't go well. And I mean, the remake went fine. That turned out great. But this week, we're going to make a little bonnet. I know that a lot of people, when they saw Neema wearing this, called it a shower cap, but it's made out of silk, and it is a bonnet. There will be two sizes available of this in the pattern section of my shop, and both sizes, let me rephrase that. Both sizes will be in the same pattern. So there's this one, which actually fits the short-haired Neema, Eloin, actually any of them without wigs, because you can take the wig off and put this cap on. But the silk bonnet is to protect the hair. And since Neema, with her great big, full, beautiful fro, has the need to sometimes have her curls scrunched back down after you've pulled it into a ponytail, that's why I developed this. Now, this is the smaller one, and then there will be a bigger one that I'll go over and show you. They're made the same way. And so hopefully that can get onto that big bunch of hair easier, because this was a bit of a challenge to get on, even though I did it and I took pictures of it that way and it went okay. I want you to have one that goes on a little easier and maybe helps to bring that afro into a more compact look when say you've had it pulled up into a ponytail, or little fluffy balls on either side of her head, or whatever it is you've done, playing around with her hair, and you want to get it a little moist and then pull it back down. Now, you don't have to make it out of silk. That's not necessary. You can make it out of cotton. You can make it out of whatever you want. Traditionally, the bonnets are made out of mulberry silk, with the satin finish, but you can do whatever you want. You want it to be a flowered shower cap, go for it. Make a flowered shower cap. It has a full lining made in with two pieces. So, and you can make it with or without the ruffle. I kind of like the ruffle, but it is absolutely not necessary. You can do your channel of elastic right up against the edge, and that will eliminate the ruffle effect. So let's get started on that. Once you've printed out your pattern, the larger size is only half the circle that you're going to need because of paper size. This one's actually a piece of paper. This is A4, so you know that you can print out the full small one on a sheet of A4. It just barely fits, and you're probably going to have borderless printing settings. But for the large one, if you're doing this one, which is what we're doing today, you might want to print it out twice and tape it together to get the full circle. But remember that you only need the openings on one side. You don't need openings on both sides. So anyway, we're going to cut out two pieces, and they can be the same or different, plain or patterned, up to you. Then you're going to want to pin them with right sides together, and then we're going to come in 1/4 inch, or 5 millimeters is actually what I've got on the pattern. But if you're like me, you're probably going to use that edge of your foot, which mine's not 5 millimeters. It's not 1/4 inch. It's narrower than that because I've got an old machine. And you're going to stitch around the edge, leaving that opening that you can see on here that is marked as AB. So leave that opening on one side, and then we're going to turn it. So I'm going to go sew this edge, and you'll need to turn and press it to get it out into a circle again, turned right side out. We'll show you that in a minute. So once you've stitched that outside edge seam, you're going to want to clip your curves, which is the whole thing. And the easiest way to clip those curves is with a pair of pinking shears, or in my case, I have scalloped shears. That'll give that an easier time turning and making a nice rounded edge. Don't clip the opening. Leave the opening unclipped. It'll make it easier to turn the edges to the inside. Okay, once you have your bonnet turned, you're going to iron it, and I wanted to share that I use an unfinished piece of wood with a rounded end. Actually, this one's a little bigger round on this end, to get in here and help with the ironing. That I can press out the roundness of the seam and go over it with the iron so that we get a nice round shape. Okay, now you're going to do your second, after you've got it all pressed, you're going to do your second row of stitching. And this one, it's a little more important that you come in that full 5 millimeters or 1/4 inch, so that you get a nice little ruffled edge, unless you don't want a ruffled edge, in which case you're going to skip this step. But if you're wanting that ruffled edge, you need to leave the opening that's on the pattern, the C to D, open, and you want to go in here and stitch around at least that 1/4 inch or 5 millimeters from the edge. Okay, once we have this seam done, which I was having trouble getting the camera to really show it, so I highlighted it right here so that you can see, hopefully, that it's open between here and there, right in line with the opening that we left from the finishing the outside edge. Now we're going to go and we're going to do a complete circle around, wide enough to accommodate elastic. So it too needs to be at least a 1/4 inch, that 5 millimeter width. And I keep saying 1/4 inch, 5 millimeters as if they were equal. They are not, but you get the idea that it's that approximate distance that will allow your elastic, and hopefully you've gotten some narrow elastic that you can thread in here. So we're going to do the other side of that channel, the elastic channel, and if you chose not to have a ruffle at the edge of your bonnet, then you'll be doing the elastic channel in the same position of the open stitch, only it'll be a complete stitch with a complete circle without an opening. So that's what this next row is a complete circle of stitching around the edge without an opening. I apologize for not realizing that it would actually show up better if I turned over to the other side of the fabric, but I've highlighted the seams here so that you can see the opening across. It's how important it is that the opening that you leave in this for the elastic be across from your outside opening, and that we have a complete row of stitching that doesn't have an opening. Now you're going to take your bodkin, which is a large blunt nosed needle, or a tiny safety pin, and this elastic, I believe, is 4 millimeter or 1/8 inch. I think you can use either search parameter to find that narrow elastic, and you're going to put it through. Now, I don't have a decided upon length. What I do is I put it into the channel and then pull it up and until it fits the doll's head, and that's how I decide if it's something awkward like a doll with a lot of hair, to where you're having a hard time getting a measurement, then take your tape measure and measure around the doll's head where you want the elastic, at the tightness that you want the elastic to be. And then take and draw up your elastic to that measurement. This is intended for Neema with the large afro. So that you'll want it to be loose enough to get over, but not so loose that it doesn't stay on. So that's you can either stitch these ends together like so, where you put them through the machine and stitch them, or you can tie a square knot. That I've had a lot of success, especially if you leave the tails kind of long. But if you don't want that bulk in there, then yeah, you can stitch over it. I like when I stitch over it, actually, to stitch over it with the ends going in opposite directions and stitching along the elastic instead of going across. But you stitch over that elastic and secure it in any way that you prefer. After you have secured the ends of your elastic, you want to get those tucked down in there. And then you can stitch the channel closed. I don't believe I did, but you'll want to tuck in and probably press these edges, the raw edges, so that you can stitch them down. And you can either hand stitch them down, or let's see if I can show you this here. Yeah. On this one, I top stitched the edge and left the channel open and didn't worry about closing the channel. It doesn't, the bulk of the elastic, where you've got more than one layer there, causes more, causes that backside lack of ruffle more than the whether or not you stitch it. So be sure you get that tucked in and either top stitch it or whip stitch it by hand. Once you've closed that opening, you'll want to even out your gathers on the elastic, and then it's ready to be used on the doll. And the cool thing is, if you've used two different fabrics, is that you can use it either way. This can be, either side can be out. I did the silk bonnet in the, the traditional satin, but it's got this is something to think about. I used a dark lining, and I should have used a dark top thread or bottom thread, depending on which way I stitched it up, so that it didn't show. So if you're doing two distinctly different colors like this, be sure that either your bottom, that your bottom and top thread match the side of the fabric that you're stitching on, so that you don't have this showing. But hey, it does make it to where you can see the top stitching and the opening that I left. I have taken Lizette's wig off, and I put a bit of cotton, like what you'd get out of the vitamin bottle, in there to fill out, to make it look like there's hair underneath the bonnet. But if you've got the Neema with the shorter hair, then that's rooted, then this should fit perfectly on that. If you've got the Neema Basic, the Life's a Beach 4, this fits over and does help to reset into a more compact fashion, where you want the full afro going and you want it fluffy, but you're having problems because you've just pulled it all out into a ponytail, and you want to bring it back in. Put your moisturizer, conditioner on there, and you can place the bigger bonnet on, and it contains the whole thing and helps to evenly bring it into a nice shape. I hope you enjoy this simple little tutorial and making of the bonnet, or shower cap if you prefer. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.